Hi artists, we're going to now work on shading in our sections. In the last few steps, you made all of your different sections and you put a dot in the alternating sections. So before you begin this, I want you to quickly double check that each of your rows alternates dot, blank, dot, blank, dot, blank, dot. Okay, so down each of those, and then around each ring, it should be dot, blank, dot, blank, dot, blank, dot, blank. So do not start with the Sharpie if there are any areas that do not line up, okay? Because once you put the Sharpie down, it is permanent. So you have two Sharpies. You have your ultra fine point Sharpie, and you also have just your regular old fine point Sharpie. So I'm gonna call this one the thick Sharpie, and I'm gonna call this one the thin Sharpie. You're gonna use both of them together. When you start in your center areas here, you're only gonna use your thin Sharpie in your innermost areas where the spaces are smallest. As you move out, you're gonna alternate between the thin and the thick. So you're gonna start with the thin and you are going to neatly and slowly outline your section. You're gonna go neatly and slowly around any lines or shapes you have. So this is the section with the dot. I'm outlining it. I'm gonna take my thin Sharpie, I'm gonna get into the corners, and I'm gonna get close to the edges. I'm gonna widen out that space. Okay, I wanna make sure I'm using the smaller of my points to get close to my edges, to get into my corners. Okay, now when you get to an edge like this, I want you to put a piece of scrap paper underneath so you don't get marker on your desk or your table. Okay, so I'm just gonna thicken that out at the bottom. Now my hand is moving slowly. I don't want you to scribble like this. Okay, we wanna make sure we're filling in solid and that we have control over our marks at all times. Because again, Sharpie markers are permanent, meaning that once you put it down, it's there. So if you make a mistake, you're gonna have to figure out how can you correct it. So it's easier if you just take your time, okay? Now when I finish with that Sharpie, I'm gonna put the point on nice and tight. We don't wanna leave our Sharpies laying without our caps on, because then they'll dry out. So now I'm gonna take my thicker of my two Sharpies, and I'm gonna start in the center, and I'm gonna work my way out from the center. Now I'm not making super long marks. I'm going back and forth in long ovals, okay? So by making those ovals, I'm ensuring a full coverage. Now when I'm in the middle of a big section, okay, I don't have to be as concerned with my edges just yet. Okay, I'm just worried about filling that in dark. Now if I tried to do the whole thing with the thin Sharpie, it would take me forever. And that Sharpie probably wouldn't last this whole project. Okay, so now I have the middle. Now I can go and just very slowly meet with that outer line that I made just a moment ago. Now the more successful your optical illusion will be depends on how neat, precise, and clean you make each of these sections. Okay, you want it to look solid. You don't want it to look scribbled at all. You want your edges to be smooth. Okay, so that is what you are going to work on today. Please take your time. Don't rush.